Is that you, Stephen? Even though Gordon looked down on Stephen with every fiber of his being, the current situation was grim. He could only put on airs and sound friendly. This is your grandpa. I called you to tell you good news. Our family has decided that we want you and your family to come back. Is that so? Sorry, we're not interested. Stephen hung up. Gordon was stunned. It took him a minute to come back to his senses. How dare he hang up on me? How rude. Who does he think he is? Mavis said. You should let it go. We're asking them for a favor, so we have to put up with them, Cohen advised. We can always find ways to teach him a lesson later. You're right. A little tolerance will go a long way. I'll call Kim again, Gordon said. At Riverview Villa, the family was gathered at the dining table. Stephen, why did you hang up on Grandpa? Kim demanded. I would also like to know, Kyle said angrily. He called us just to tell us that he wanted us to come back. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you ruined it. Calm down, Stephen said. Think about this logically. They kicked us out this morning. It's only been a few hours, and they're already begging us to come back. It's obvious that they called because they have some ulterior motive. Kicking us out of the family is a serious matter, Natalie said. It involves the reputation of the family. What could they be plotting? Even if that's true, this is obviously a trap. After they took over Lunaria, they weren't competent enough to manage the company, so they probably made a mess of things. Now they're looking for someone to be their scapegoat, and that someone is you, Kim. Kim thought about it. Stephen's reasoning made sense. Lunaria's market value was around $2 billion, and it required a lot of management. From what she'd seen of the Haynes family's skills at running a business, they were simply not up to par. Her phone rang. This time, she hesitated when she saw that it was Gordon. Don't answer, Stephen said. You can't be so soft-hearted. The more you support them, the more miserable our family will become. What do you think will happen if you accept their offer? When you take back Lunaria, our family will no longer have any value to them. What happened this morning will happen again. Yes, you're right. Kim was well aware of what the Haynes family was capable of, but because they were a family, she decided to give them a chance and look past it to some extent. But it seemed like they didn't deserve any more chances. Stephen thought for a moment. Mom, Dad, if Grandpa can't contact Kim, he might look for you two instead. I'm afraid you might give in if they make their offer sound enticing. Why don't you enjoy a vacation and stay away from all this? Natalie and Kyle exchanged a glance. A vacation? Yes, I've already thought of a good place. I heard the scenery in the South is great at this time of year. You should take this time to relax. I'm friends with the boss there, so he'll be making the arrangements for you. It's been a while since you two have gone out together. Why don't you take this chance and enjoy yourselves, relieve some stress, and improve your relationship? Over the years, Kyle and Natalie's relationship had deteriorated. If it weren't for Kim, they would have divorced a long time ago. Kim was impressed by Stephen's idea. She secretly gave him a thumbs up. At the Haynes family's villa, Gordon was frustrated when Kim wouldn't pick up. She has no respect for her elders. She's becoming more impudent as the days passed. She's even rejecting my calls now. I don't think Kim would do something like that on her own, Mavis said. It had to have been because of Stephen. Since you can't contact her, call Natalie and Kyle instead. Gordon made another call, only to find that their phones were turned off. He cursed under his breath. Go out and find them. Bring them to our house. Everyone filed out of the room. Sometime later, they returned, but Natalie and Kyle weren't with them. They suddenly decided to take a vacation in the South. They'll be gone for around 10 days to half a month, Cohen reported. Gordon flew into a rage. They're clearly avoiding us. Another person came to find them. It was a representative of the company that had invested money into Lunaria's suburban park project. We've received news that most of Lunaria's employees have left their jobs. Given the situation, we've reevaluated the project and determined that the risk is not worth the benefit. According to the contract, this project will be terminated and the investment will be withdrawn. We would like for you to return our investment within 3 days. This is a contract between you and Kim. Why are you asking us? Mavis demanded. Yes, but you're the new owners of Lunaria, and the company's responsibilities are now on your shoulders. Of course, if you would like to avoid your duties, then we'll see you in court. How much did you invest? Gordon asked. Not much, just $50 million. Gordon staggered. The rest of the Haynes family rushed to steady him. If you don't return the $50 million investment, not only will we be suing you, the city won't be letting this go. It's a key project of Santa Ana. They won't tolerate any delays because it will affect the reputation of the city. As a government official, Cohen was more knowledgeable than the rest of the family. He wasn't about to let Gordon give away $50 million. If Linda inherited the Haynes family's assets, they would receive $50 million less. Stop trying to scare us. You think we don't have the courage to call the police? Go ahead and report me. I'd like to see who the police will arrest when they come. If you can't afford the return of $50 million investment, then you should take responsibility and go to jail. Before Cohen could respond, his phone rang. The director of the Bureau of Economics was calling. Cohen, I heard that the Haynes family acquired Lunaria. Since you also work for the government, I'll give you a chance. Have a chat with the representative of the company who invested $50 million into the suburban park project and return the money. If you get sued, Haynes Industries will go bankrupt and someone will be going to jail. Your career will be affected as well. I won't say any more. He hung up without giving Cohen a chance to say anything. Cohen had turned on the speaker, so everyone had heard their conversation. Aside from the representative, everyone else had worried looks on their faces. Gordon gave in and instructed someone to transfer $50 million. His losses now amounted to $55 million. No matter what, we have to find Kim and Stephen today. Taking over Lunaria was a mistake. If they don't come and take it off our hands, our family will go bankrupt. The Haynes family set out once again. Kim and Stephen were alone in Riverview Villa after Natalie and Kyle left on their vacation. Kim, you've been busy ever since we came to Santa Ana. It's rare for you to have days off. Why don't I take you to the Wyvern Group and introduce you to Mr. Lucero? As the largest investor of Lunaria, Kim admired the CEO of the Wyvern Group. She'd been planning to meet with him one of these days. I would love to, but will he meet with us without an appointment? Stephen was the director of the security department, but was his status high enough for him to meet with Dennis unannounced? Did you forget that I'm an outstanding employee of the Wyvern Group? Mr. Lucero even gave me the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. I'm sure it'll be fine. That's true. All right, let's go. Stephen drove Kim to the Wyvern Group. At the entrance, they ran into Stephen's colleague from the security department, Tony and Reese. From their conversations with Stephen, the three of them seemed close. Tony and Reese were courteous and even addressed her as Miss Kim. As for Jasmine, she was out meeting clients today, so she wasn't at the company. When they reached the CEO's office, Kim was pleasantly surprised to hear from the secretary that Dennis wanted to give them both a warm welcome, just like Stephen had said he would. Cohen rushed to Lunaria and reported Stephen and Kim's whereabouts. I found them. They went to the Wyvern Group. That kid really knows how to hide, Mavis muttered. Did he think we wouldn't be able to find him if he ran off to the Wyvern Group with Kim? How naive! Let's go track them down, Gordon said. The Haynes family rushed to the Wyvern Group. When they arrived, the security guards, Tony and Reese, stopped them at the entrance. Hey, what are you doing? Cohen assumed the role of the family's representative. Please make an exception for us. We're looking for Kim Cassidy. There's no one who goes by that name at our company, Tony said. Cohen, Stephen's the one who works here, Mark whispered. Oh, right. Cohen straightened and turned back to the security guards. We are looking for Stephen Adams. You want to meet with the director of the security department? Tony eyed their group suspiciously. There's quite a lot of you. Are you here to cause trouble? Tony and Reese tightened their grips on their batons. Please don't misunderstand, Cohen said. We're not here to cause any trouble. We're actually in a hurry to find Stephen. I'm his uncle. He gestured to Gordon. And this is his grandfather. Gordon nodded. Yes, I'm Stephen's grandfather. So you're his relatives? Tony asked. Cohen flashed a smile. Yes, all of us are his relatives. We're his very closely knit family. In that case, I'll inform him of your arrival. Don't go anywhere, and wait here. Okay, we're sorry to trouble you, Cohen said politely. Tony stepped to the side and gave Stephen a call. Mr. Adams, there's a large group of people outside the building. They say they're your relatives, and... Oh, right, they called themselves your very closely knit family. There's someone named Cohen. He said he's your uncle. There was also an elderly man. I don't know what his name is, but he said he's your grandfather. Do you want me to let them in? Stephen's reply was simple and crude. What uncle? What grandfather? I don't know them. Tell them to scram. Understood, Mr. Adams. Tony hung up and went back to the Haynes family. Please leave. My boss said he doesn't know you, and he wants you to get the hell out of here. The Haynes family looked at each other. Gordon cursed. How dare he? I'm his grandfather. Tony frowned. What was that? I'm really sorry. I wasn't talking to you, Gordon said quickly. Tony maintained his businesslike attitude. None of you are welcome here. If you don't leave, don't blame us for being rude. Reese, who was standing to the side, kept a watchful gaze on them. He was prepared for any signs of aggression. We're not here to fight. The situation is like this. There's some conflict between us and Stephen, but we've cleared up the misunderstanding, and we're here to make things right. He's still mad at us, so he's not picking up our calls. Could you please give him another call and tell him what I said? That sounds reasonable. Okay, I'll help you out. But it's up to Mr. Adams to decide whether he wants to let you in or not. Tony dialed Stephen's number again. Stephen glanced at his phone. He knew that Tony was calling because of the Haynes family. He knew what they wanted. Kim, go inside without me. Mr. Lucero just sent me a message saying that he would like to discuss a business opportunity with you. I don't have my company anymore. What business opportunity does he want to talk about? Mr. Lucero is smart and strategic. He invested in you, not because of Haynes Industries or Lunaria. Kim hadn't thought about it like that. I see. All right, I'll go in first. After she went inside the CEO's office, Stephen called Tony back. Tell them that if they want us to return to the Haynes family, they'll have to get on their knees and apologize in front of the building for everyone to see. Got it. Tony relayed Stephen's conditions to the Haynes family, word for word. That bastard, who does he think he is? He wants us to kneel and apologize in front of the company where he works? That's ridiculous, Kelly's husband said. Stephen was still on the line. When he heard Kelly's husband's remark, he said, It's fine if you don't want to. Please head back. I don't want to see any of you ever again. Gordon thought about the $55 million he had lost for no reason. He had to settle this today. Tomorrow, someone else would come to collect their debt, and he would lose another round of tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions. Even if the Haynes family was by no means lacking in money, their accounts would be emptied fairly quickly. Gordon gritted his teeth. Everyone, get on your knees. At his command, the Haynes family kneeled, one after another. They were reluctant, but they had no choice. The bystanders noticed the commotion and turned to stare. What's going on? Aren't they from the Haynes family? They're all kneeling at the entrance of the Wyvern group. This is new. Looks like they made a big mistake. They took out their phones, snapped a picture, and uploaded it online. The Haynes family instantly became a hot topic in Santa Ana. But to the Haynes family, today was the darkest day of their lives. First, they'd kicked Natalie's family out in the morning. Second, they had just taken over Lunaria, and they'd already lost $55 million. Third, more creditors would be coming tomorrow to demand their money back. And fourth, they'd come to the Wyvern Group to make Kim take back her mess of a company, but they ended up doing something as shameful as kneeling in public. Stephen's voice sounded from Tony's phone. "There are 2 more people. Why aren't they kneeling?" Stephen was looking out the window from the top floor of the building. He had a clear view of the situation at the entrance. Tony gestured to Gordon and Mavis. "You heard him. Why are you still standing there?" They exchanged a surprised glance. "We have to kneel too. We're his grandparents." Tony chuckled. "If you do something wrong, you should take responsibility and receive your punishment." Gordon was on the verge of losing it, but he swallowed his anger. "Forget it. Why should we do what he said for the sake of our family?" Mavis said. "We've been through worse. What does a little more humiliation matter?" Gordon and Mavis got on their knees and apologized. "Stephen, are you satisfied now?" "Not bad. All right, I'm satisfied with your sincerity." "Look, all of us are on our knees, and we've apologized. Shouldn't you ask Kim to come out now? She needs to take her company back." "You want to see Kim?" "Sorry, she's not here. She and Mr. Lucero are discussing a business opportunity." Gordon stood up in anger. "Stephen, are you messing with us? We came to apologize, and we even kneeled. Now you're telling us that Kim's not here?" "Hey, don't say that. I never said that Kim would take back Lunaria. I only said that we would return to the Haynes family if you got on your knees and apologized." Gordon was at a loss for words. After thinking about it carefully, Stephen really hadn't given them any promises. They had been too anxious and fell into Stephen's trap. They'd already suffered a huge loss, and to top it off, Stephen had strung them along and played them like fools. At the CEO's office, Kim and Dennis were engaged in a discussion. "Mr. Lucero, is that true?" Kim asked excitedly. Dennis smiled. "Of course. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The Wyvern Group invested in you, not because of Haynes Industries or Lunaria. Sanson Corporation has withdrawn from Santa Ana's business industry, and Tanith Corporation, which worked closely with them, is about to shut down. The city will be holding an auction at Swallow Resort to support the economy. The Wyvern Group will be participating as well. To reward Stephen for his outstanding performance at our company, we've decided to send him as our representative. He's allowed to bring a family member with him." Kim knew that Dennis was implying that Stephen could take her with him. "Mr. Lucero, Miss Kim, don't be in a hurry to refuse. This is my way of showing appreciation for our company's excellent employees. After the auction, you may stay at Swallow Resort for around 1 to 2 weeks. Think of it as a vacation." "A vacation sounds like a good idea to me," Stephen said as he walked in. Dennis almost blurted out a respectful greeting, but he was stopped when Stephen gave him a look. Stephen took a seat next to Kim. "What are you talking about?" "Mr. Lucero said your performance is at the top of the charts, and he wants you to participate in Tanith Corporation's auction at Swallow Resort. You'll be the Wyvern Group's representative. He also said we can enjoy our stay for around 1 to 2 weeks after the auction and treat it as a vacation. You can bring along one family member." Stephen pretended like this was his first time hearing about this. "Oh, is that so? Mr. Lucero, would it be okay with you if I bring my wife with me?" "Of course," Dennis said with a smile. "Mr. Lucero treats you so well. You have to work hard to repay him," Kim said. Stephen laughed. "Of course I will." The next day, after Dennis handed them a stack of documents for the auction and gave them instructions, Stephen drove Kim to Swallow Resort. It was around 30 miles away from Santa Ana. The resort was located in the mountains and surrounded by rivers. The scenery was beautiful and the air was fresh. Kim spotted many big shots she'd only ever seen on TV. Luxury cars and socialites were everywhere. Tanith Corporation's auction was like a grand feast for the wealthy. Sanson Corporation is one of the top enterprises overseas. They left Santa Ana in a panic and left behind an empty market, Stephen explained. Everyone wants to take this chance to enter Santa Ana's market and get a share of the pie. It's natural for so many big shots in the industry to show up. Kim nodded in understanding. So that's the situation. Stephen and Kim displayed the invitations at the entrance, and the staff led them inside. Hey, is that you, Kim? Kim turned around. A man who appeared to be around 30 years old was walking up to them. He was dressed in a suit and leather shoes. Leonard? The man laughed. I didn't think you would still remember me. Are you here to participate in the auction? Kim was a little upset when she recalled that she no longer had her company. No, I'm not. We're technically here for a vacation. We? Leonard glanced at Stephen. Is this your husband? Yes, let me introduce you. Leonard interrupted her and changed the topic. I've heard about what happened. As Kim's husband, shouldn't you be more self-aware and stay away from her when you know she's at her lowest point? Stephen crossed his arms. I beg to differ. If she's at her lowest point, shouldn't I stay by her side and help her out? Leonard sighed. That's where you're wrong. Kim was kicked out of the Haynes family and lost her company. What she needs most is not a useless husband like you. What's the use of staying by her side anyway? Will she be able to make a comeback because you're accompanying her? What Kim needs is financial support. For example, someone at my level. Stephen lifted a brow. Then may I ask, what level are you at? My level's not that high. I'm the general manager of Swallow Resort, and I'm in charge of the daily operations here. My annual salary's around $1 million. Although I can't be compared to the tycoons here today, it's more than enough to give Kim a life without worries. I agree. Your level is indeed not that high. Your annual salary is only $1 million. That's too low. Leonard frowned. Then may I ask, what level are you at, and how much is your annual salary? I'm younger than you, and my annual salary is higher than yours. Stephen thought for a minute. As for how much, it's enough to purchase this resort. What a joke. If you were really that capable, you wouldn't have let Kim be kicked out of the Haynes family. Besides, do you really think I don't know who you are? I know you're a freeloading husband who only knows how to brag. If you don't believe me, I can prove it to you. I'll purchase Swallow Resort in a few minutes. Stephen pulled out his phone and gave Jack a call. Hey, I want to buy Swallow Resort. Get it done as soon as possible. On it, Mr. Adams, Jack replied without hesitating. The palace had a lot of money, and acquiring one resort was not worth mentioning. Leonard scoffed. You're just like the rumors, boasting and bluffing left and right. Do you know how much Swallow Resort is worth? He held up a finger. $1 billion. Can you afford it? Kim, I suggest you stay away from this fool as soon as you can. He's not worthy of you. Even though you're left with nothing now, with your looks, what kind of man won't be attracted to you? Kim frowned. She didn't think Stephen could afford Swallow Resort. It was worth $1 billion. But putting that aside, Leonard's words were unpleasant to hear. Don't talk nonsense. I'm not that kind of person. Please respect me and my husband, Kim said. Leonard pretended to be apologetic. I'm very sorry, Kim. I was rude. Kim was beautiful, and she had a good figure. He'd wanted her ever since they were classmates, but there was never an opportunity. Now, Kim had been kicked out of the Haynes family, and she didn't have her company anymore. His chance had come. She was married, but that didn't matter. He only wanted her. He wasn't interested in marrying her. Kim relaxed slightly after hearing his apology. Leonard continued to act professionally. I'll ask someone to bring your luggage up to your room. According to the schedule, lunch will be served in the hall from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I guarantee the food will be to your liking. Please come and give it a try." "Thank you," Kim said. Two of the resort's staff carried their luggage up to their room. After lounging for the rest of the morning, it was almost 11:30 a.m. "There's half an hour before lunch. Want to take a walk around?" Stephen suggested. "Sounds good." There were many water parks and rides at Swallow Resort. They opted for a short cruise on the lake. Meanwhile, Leonard was headed to the kitchen. The chefs greeted him when he entered. "I'm just here to take a look. Get back to work. There are a lot of prominent figures here for the auction. We have to ensure that our meals are of the highest quality. We can't let our guests down. Slip-ups won't be tolerated." The chefs expressed their agreement. Leonard walked over to one of the chefs and pointed at the dish he was preparing. "Is this for room 1088? "Yes," the chef replied. "The two guests in room 1088 are my friends. Prepare the meal well," Leonard said. "Don't worry, Mr. Leonard. I guarantee they won't be disappointed." While the chef was chopping ingredients, Leonard looked around. No one was paying attention to him. He took out a packet of white powder from his pocket and sprinkled the contents onto the meat on the chopping board. He kneaded the meat to distribute the powder, giving it the appearance of being covered in starch. Leonard stepped back and held his hands behind his back, pretending he was observing the kitchen. He grinned when the chef put the meat onto the pan and it began to sizzle. Kim wouldn't be able to escape him today. He'd used this method several times in the past for other pretty girls who stayed at Swallow Resort. The powder contained strong medicinal properties, and when they woke up, they had no recollection of the night before. Soon, it was time for lunch. The guests arrived at the restaurant in groups. Each room corresponded with a table, and the dishes served at each table were different. The guests took their seats according to their room numbers. When Stephen and Kim sat down, Leonard joined them at their table. A waiter served dish after dish. "Why are there so many dishes?" Kim asked. "We didn't order this much." "Mr. Leonard informed us that you two are his friends. Besides the dishes you ordered, the rest is on the house. I hope you enjoy your meal." Kim glanced at Leonard, who was sitting across from her. Leonard smiled at her. Stephen had a feeling that he was up to something. As a precaution, he sent a message to Jack and asked him to send him the security cameras footage of the kitchen at the resort. For someone like Jack, this was an easy task. In less than 30 seconds, he sent the footage over. Stephen watched the video under the table, and sure enough, he saw Leonard messing with the meat in the kitchen. Stephen put his phone away and put on a wide smile. "Kim, since he went out of his way to make arrangements, we should accept his sincerity." Stephen rearranged the dishes and placed the meat dish at his side of the table, out of Kim's reach. He picked up his fork and stabbed a slice of meat. Leonard stared at him as he shoved the meat into his mouth. Stephen met his gaze as he chewed. A chill ran down Leonard's spine. As the Grand Palace master, Leonard's medicine had no effect on him. Stephen asked the waiter to give him a bottle of wine. When the waiter returned with the requested wine, Stephen walked over to Leonard with the bottle in hand. "We're grateful for your generous hospitality. Please accept this drink." Without waiting for Leonard to answer, Stephen filled his glass to the brim. Then he raised the bottle, giving Leonard a toast, and downed the wine. Leonard and the surrounding guests were dumbstruck when he finished the entire bottle. "Thank you, Mr. Adams, but my alcohol tolerance is limited. I can't drink this much." Leonard raised his glass and took a sip. This was his reply to Stephen. When Stephen sat back down, his face was flushed, and he swayed in his seat. "Stephen, you're drunk," Kim said worriedly. "No, I'm not," he slurred. "You are drunk," Leonard said, shaking his head in disapproval. "Kim, he clearly couldn't handle it, but he drank the whole bottle anyway. I'll help you take him upstairs to your room." "Thanks, Leonard. Sorry for the trouble." "It's no trouble at all." Kim hadn't tasted the meat, but that didn't matter. Stephen had, and he would be knocked out for several hours. That was enough time for him to get his way with Kim without Stephen interfering. After Leonard helped Stephen back to his room with Kim, he left to make preparations. He returned half an hour later. Stephen should still be asleep for a few more hours. Just as he was about to ring the doorbell, the door swung open and his vision went black. Leonard awoke to pitch-black darkness. He rubbed his eyes, but he couldn't see anything. Where was this place? Why was he here? What had happened? As the haze of sleep faded, he vaguely registered that his arms and legs were cramped. From the small space and sharp edges around him, he guessed that he was in some kind of storage room. Leonard staggered to his feet and felt around the small room. His hand brushed against what resembled a doorknob. He turned the knob and pushed open the door. The blinding light seared his eyes. A security guard turned the corner and waved when he spotted Leonard from afar. "Hey, I saw the pretty girl you were with earlier. You got lucky with that one." The security guard was Leonard's confidant, and he was aware of what he was up to. When the security guard came closer, he noticed that Leonard's usual prim and proper suit was messy and covered in dust. His hair was disheveled, and there was dirt on his face. "Oh, I didn't expect this, but that girl sure went wild. Did you have a good time?" Leonard was infuriated when he glanced down at his clothes. "Get lost!" The security guard ran off in confusion. By coincidence, Kim and Stephen were also passing by. Kim was confused when she saw his messy appearance. "Leonard, did you get into a fight?" The respectable image Leonard had maintained in front of Kim had been ruined. It would be difficult to get close to her now. What was going on? The last thing he remembered was standing in front of Kim and Stephen's room. Then he'd somehow passed out and woke up in a dusty old storage room. Leonard felt Stephen's gaze bore into him. He was annoyed by the way he was looking at him. It was full of contempt. Leonard went to the security room and asked the security guards to pull up the footage. He instantly understood the situation. Leonard gritted his teeth. Of course, it was Stephen. How dare he scheme against him? Leonard led a group of 8 security guards and left to look for Stephen and Kim. "Leonard, what's the meaning of this?" Kim demanded when the security guards surrounded her and Stephen. "It's nothing serious. The guest just reported that he lost one of his valuables. I watched the footage from the security cameras, and your husband is suspected of committing a major crime. We have to bring him back for investigation." As long as Leonard had Stephen in his grasp, he could do whatever he wanted to him, and he could even continue his pursuit with Kim. "I'm someone who has the means to purchase your resort," Stephen said. "Why would I do something like that? Whether it's valuables or even 100 million, I couldn't be bothered to steal them." "Then prove it to me. When you first arrived, I remember you saying that you could buy the resort within a few minutes." Leonard held up his hand, taking the opportunity to display the expensive watch on his wrist. "It's been several hours. Did you really buy it?" The moment he finished his sentence, a few men, who appeared to be influential figures, entered the resort. Among these people was the owner of Swallow Resort. They went straight to Stephen with hurried steps. One of the men held out a contract. "Mr. Adams, I'm very sorry for my tardiness. You paid $2 billion to purchase Swallow Resort, and I've brought the contract for you to sign. Once you sign your name, this resort will belong to you." Stephen picked up the pen and signed his name on the document. The former owner of the resort introduced himself. "Thank you for your interest in Swallow Resort. I'm now your employee. If you have any requests, feel free to let me know." Swallow Resort was worth around $1 billion, but Stephen had paid $2 billion. And before the contract was signed, $2 billion had already been transferred to the account. To be able to transfer $2 billion in such a short amount of time, Stephen couldn't be a normal person. He wasn't one to be messed with. Furthermore, the transaction was profitable in his favor, so the former owner had no reason to refuse. Leonard's jaw dropped. Did Stephen really buy Swallow Resort? He was filled with dread when he thought about what he'd done. "I don't have any special requirements. The resort's operations can stay the same as before. You will continue to be in charge of managing it." Stephen glanced at Leonard. "But your general manager seems to have poor eyesight. He insisted that there's a guest who lost his valuables and accused me of stealing them." From this transaction, the former owner was well aware of Stephen's wealth. To let him be labeled as a thief could be considered an insult. He faced the security guard.
What's going on?
After finding out that Stephen had become the new owner of the resort, the security guard switched sides and betrayed Leonard.
We didn't want to do this. Mr. Leonard said he wanted to make up an excuse to give Mr. Adams a good beating to vent his frustrations. He also said he had to get Miss Kim in his bed.
The former owner glared at Leonard.
Are you crazy? How could you think of doing such a thing? You're fired. You're no longer the general manager of Swallow Resort.
After the incident with Leonard was settled, Stephen and Kim went to the auction venue. Tanith Company's auction was about to begin. Stephen, there's only the two of us right now. Be honest with me. Where did you get all that money to buy the resort?
About that.
It wasn't the right time for Stephen to reveal his identity. While he was hesitating, Kim's phone rang. She picked up right away when she saw who it was. Hey, Jasmine, what's going on?
Kim, congratulations.
Congratulations for what?
Didn't Stephen tell you? Mr. Lucero just bought Swallow Resort and asked Stephen to sign the contract using his name. I heard you came to the Wyvern Group yesterday, so I was thinking that this is a great opportunity for you.
Kim was even more confused. What opportunity?
Mr. Lucero told me that the owner of the Wyvern Group values your talent, so he decided to invest in you again. The resort is under Stephen's name, and you two are there as the Wyvern Group's representatives for Tanith Corporation's auction. Isn't this a clear sign?
Are you trying to say that the owner is trying to get me to take over Swallow Resort and Tanith Corporation?
That's right. Don't worry, Kim. Even though the Haynes family kicked you out, you have a lot of people on your side. We'll be working together very soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Stephen overheard their conversation. Jasmine was so excited that she was practically yelling into the phone. Her call had come at the right time. It was enough to explain how he'd purchased the resort. On their way to the auction venue, a man called out to Kim.
Hello, beautiful lady. I'm Mitchell Norris, the CEO of the Norris Group in Washington, D.C. If you don't mind, could I get your number?
Stephen cut in when Mitchell acted like he didn't exist.
I'm sorry, but I mind.
Mitchell ignored him and continued to stare at Kim, waiting for her to answer.
I'm sorry, sir, Kim said.
I don't know who you are, so I don't think that's necessary.
The corners of Mitchell's lips curled. It doesn't matter if we don't know each other. I believe we'll be acquainted very soon, because I will be the final winner of today's auction.
Several other participants arrived. They started whispering when they saw Mitchell.
Isn't that Mitchell Norris? I didn't know he was attending the auction. His company, the Norris Group, has a market capitalization of over $1 billion. And he's part of one of the top 10 wealthiest families in Washington, D.C.
With a few words from the bystanders, Mitchell's pride soared.
Excuse me, sir, Kim said. I'm only here to accompany my husband. He'll be participating in the auction. I'm not interested in the final winner. Are you sure the winner will be you? Stephen asked with a faint smile. I have a feeling that you have too much confidence in yourself.
Mitchell was annoyed when Kim wasn't swayed by his identity. Back home, his name was all it took for the rich girls to fight and fawn over him. Who did Kim think she was? Tanith Corporation was backed by Sanson Corporation. It's involved in many industries, including the food industry and entertainment industries. Their entertainment industry is especially profitable. It has the most potential. Many popular artists have signed with them. Although the company is only worth $100 million, the market value could have increased up to $1 billion if Sanson Corporation hadn't withdrawn from the city so suddenly. They also wouldn't have gotten to the point of bankruptcy. There are not too many people who can bring out the company's full potential. But my company, the Norris Group, has that ability. It's a guarantee that I will win today's auction.
It might not be as set in stone as you think it is, Stephen said.
Mitchell smirked. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Both parties entered the auction venue. Soon, the auction officially began. After a short introduction, the host began taking bids.
Although Tanith Corporation had a market value of $100 million, due to the Sanson Corporation's withdrawal from Santa Ana, its real worth was at most $50 million. The starting bid for Tanith Corporation is $5 million, the host announced. Would anyone like to make a bid? Mitchell raised his number plate. $7 million. He was relying on his company's influence to win. Many of the local enterprises in Santa Ana had joined the auction in hopes of winning Tanith Corporation, but with Mitchell here, none of them dared to compete with him. A short period of silence followed until Stephen also raised his number plate. $10 million. Everyone turned to look at him. The starting bid was $5 million, but it had already raised to $10 million. They all wanted to catch a glimpse of this bold and daring person. Mitchell was also surprised. He glanced at Stephen before lifting his number plate again. $11 million. How petty. Is this the so-called famous Norris family, one of the top 10 wealthiest families in Washington, D.C.? That's disappointing. Stephen lifted his number plate. $50 million. The host was stunned when Stephen raised his number plate. The bid for Tanith Corporation had jumped from $11 million to $50 million. Wasn't the gap too big? Everyone held their breaths. Kim leaned closer and whispered, Stephen, you're representing the Wyvern Group right now. If you raise the price this high, aren't you exceeding their budget? Don't worry, it'll be fine. I'm the representative, so they'll go along with it, Stephen said. Mitchell had originally been planning on paying $10 million to Tanith Corporation. He hadn't expected Stephen to give him a hard time. As a member of the Norris family, he couldn't lose the auction. $51 million, he gritted out. Another $1 million. What is that going to do for Santa Ana? You claim to be from one of the top 10 wealthiest families in D.C., but you're only increasing the price by $1 million at a time. Isn't that embarrassing? Stephen held up his number plate. $100 million. Crazy, Mitchell called out. With the current state of Tanith Corporation, the most profitable price would be $10 million. $50 million was still acceptable, but $100 million was akin to burning money. Stephen chuckled. No, I'm perfectly sane. My offer is $100 million. You're supposedly from a wealthy family. Are you going to bid higher? This time, everyone looked at Mitchell. It would be embarrassing if he lost to Stephen so easily. When Mitchell left for Santa Ana, he had been specifically instructed not to exceed $100 million. But after deliberating his options, he decided that his family's reputation was more important. $110 million, he said. Stephen had already bid on $100 million, and he was most likely hitting his budget limit. Adding on $10 million more would surely be enough to shut him up. However, Stephen didn't seem fazed. $10 million? Looks like I was right. The Norris family is stingy. Mitchell was at a loss for words. Then may I ask how much you want to bid? It can't be $200 million, right? Hey, you guessed correctly. I was planning on increasing the bid to $200 million. The crowd was in an uproar. Stephen was insane. Mitchell couldn't follow up with that amount. $200 million far surpassed his budget. He only had $100 million to spend. Even if he had succeeded in bidding for $110 million, he would have had to pay the extra $10 million out of his own pocket. The host on stage called out, $200 million going once, $200 million going twice, and sold! Congratulations to Mr. Adams from the Wyvern Group. Tanith Corporation is yours for $200 million. Bidding $200 million is easy, but let's see if you can afford it, Mitchell said. A middle-aged man with a potbelly was escorted by a crowd of people, including the host. He stepped in front of Stephen. The man introduced himself as the sponsor of the auction. Congratulations on winning the bid for Tanith Corporation. He took a stack of documents from his assistant and a POS machine. He gave the documents to Stephen. Without further delay, we'll be handling the transaction procedures. After your payment, we'll need your signature on all these forms. Then the company will be yours. Stephen saw through his intention. It was obvious that he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to pay the $200 million. Sure, no problem. Stephen took out his card and gave it to the man. Here you go. Mitchell watched from his seat. He didn't believe that the Wyvern Group would be giving Stephen $200 million just to purchase a dying company like Tanith Corporation. The sponsor of the auction reached out to take Stephen's card. It didn't look familiar. When he read the balance on the machine, he broke out in a cold sweat. The display was too small to accommodate the full amount. He swallowed nervously and carefully completed the transaction for $200 million before returning the card to Stephen. In the next moment, his assistant reported that the $200 million had been received. What the heck? Who exactly was Stephen? From the looks of it, he wouldn't have batted an eye even if the bid had gone up to $2 billion. The sponsor of the auction contained his shock and proceeded to the next order of business. Mr. Adams, please sign this form. Once it's signed, you will become the legal representative of Tanith Corporation. Stephen held out the pen to Kim. You should sign it. What? How could I do that? It's okay. Mr. Lucero told me that he wanted you to be in charge of Tanith Corporation. Kim could only agree. Right after the auction ended, the Wyvern Group invested $5 billion into Tanith Corporation, causing the company that was on the brink of death to come back to life. Its market value rose to $10 billion, and it became the hottest news in Santa Ana's business industry. In one of the guest rooms at the Swallow Resort, Mitchell threw his glass of water on the floor. I can't accept this. None of his subordinates dared to make a sound. After venting his anger, he turned to his assistant. How many people did we bring to Santa Ana? 18. In addition, ever since you took on the position of the successor of the Norris family, they've sent 2 professionally trained combat specialists to protect you in the shadows. Good, that's enough to make him pay. What are you planning to do? Mitchell waved his assistant to come closer and whispered in his ear. Is there a need to go that far? His assistant asked. They just won the bid. They die all of a sudden. Wouldn't we be the first suspects? It's necessary. This is the first project I took on ever since I became the successor. The family is looking forward to my accomplishments. If I go back and tell them that I failed, what do you think they'll say? His assistant remained silent. Mitchell's logic was reasonable. I have to get rid of Stephen and make him give me Tanith Corporation. As a bonus, I'll be taking his beautiful wife as well. After the auction ended, Stephen was planning on enjoying his stay with Kim for a week or so, but she adamantly insisted on heading back to Santa Ana. She couldn't stay idle, especially after she became Tanith Corporation's legal representative. Kim's anxiety grew when she heard that the Wyvern Group invested $5 billion. She had to go back to the city and manage the company. She had to do well to repay the owner of the Wyvern Group for entrusting her with Tanith Corporation. Stephen had no choice but to pack his luggage and drive back to Santa Ana with Kim in tow. On their way there, Kim flipped through the company's documents to prepare. Half an hour later, Stephen noticed that Kim had fallen asleep. He stopped the car by the roadside and covered her with his jacket. Then he continued driving. When they were around 5 miles away from the intersection on the highway, 8 cars appeared and blocked their path. Mitchell was in the car at the front. He rolled down the window and took a drag of his cigarette. His subordinates lined up in front of Stephen's car with daggers in their hands. Stephen opened the car door and called out to Mitchell. I didn't take you for a sore loser. Mitchell put out his cigarette and got out of the car with his assistant. I'll give you a chance. Give me Tanith Corporation and I'll spare your life. His assistant held out the transfer agreement contract. Stephen glanced at the document. I spent $200 million to bid for Tanith Corporation. You want me to hand it over? Isn't this a robbery? Mitchell was confident in his subordinates and the 2 combat specialists hiding in the vicinity. Even if you don't want to, you'll end up agreeing after we're done with you. And your wife, I want her too. A cold glint flashed in Stephen's eyes. You shouldn't have said that. No one hurts my wife and gets away with it. Mitchell waved his hand. Get him! His subordinates rushed forward with daggers raised. Stephen jumped into the fray and emerged unscathed a moment later, heading straight for Mitchell. His assistant ran in front of him to counter Stephen's attack. Stephen didn't slow down and snapped Mitchell's assistant's neck with one smooth motion. Mitchell took a shaky step backward. His assistant was much stronger than his subordinates combined, but he'd been killed in one move. In a panicked voice, Mitchell called out to the two combat specialists, but no one responded. Didn't his assistant tell him that they were protecting him from the shadows? Where were they? "Are you looking for them?" a voice rang out behind him. Mitchell whirled around, and his face paled. A man tossed the two combat specialists onto the ground. They were lifeless and covered in blood. This man was Arlo, the mercenary that Stephen had subdued. He had an AK-47 slung over his shoulder. Several mercenaries with guns followed him. "Mr. Mitchell, do you still want the Tanith Corporation and my wife?" Stephen asked calmly. Mitchell realized the gravity of the situation he was in and rushed to apologize. "I was blind and failed to recognize your strength. Please spare me." "Spare you? It's too late for that. I don't have that big of a heart." Mitchell clenched his fists. "If you visit Washington, D.C. in the future, the Norris family will be the first people to welcome you." Stephen wasn't an idiot. He caught the hidden meaning behind his words. "Are you trying to use your family to threaten me?" Stephen took one step forward and struck. With a crack, Mitchell's limbs were broken. "This is what happens when you try to hurt my wife." Stephen walked back to his car and opened the door. Before getting in, he called out to Arlo, "Clean up the mess." Out of everyone in the Haynes family, Kelly's husband, Nathan, paid attention to the news in the business industry the most. While he was browsing the news articles on his phone, he came across Kim's acquisition of Tanith Corporation. His gasp caught everyone's attention. They gathered around him and peered over his shoulder to read the article. At Swallow Resorts auction, Kim Cassidy purchased Tanith Corporation for $200 million and became the new CEO. The Wyvern Group has invested $5 billion, causing the market value of the company to soar. The market price has been rising ever since, and there's a high possibility that the company will become a leading enterprise in the business industry. Not long ago, Kim transferred ownership of Lunaria to Haynes Industries. "I was wondering why she kept avoiding us," Gordon said. "So, she was at an auction. Did you all read that part of the article? The market value of Tanith Corporation is in the billions already." "No wonder. With a company worth billions in her possession, it doesn't matter whether she has Lunaria or not," Mavis added. Everyone's faces fell. They had taken Lunaria from Kim in hopes that it would benefit their family, but in the end, it had done nothing but cause them losses. Cohen broke the silence. "I think we've been caught in Kim's trap. Everything she does pushes our family further down." Nathan chimed in. "That makes sense. Why else would she have asked us to help her useless husband, Stephen, and willingly give us Lunaria?" "What I can't understand is why the Wyvern Group invested $5 billion as soon as Kim bought Tanith Corporation," Brittany said. "Isn't that a little too much? She must have slept with the owner of the Wyvern Group to persuade him to give her a big investment." Sophia nodded. "That has to be it. Didn't Kim pay a visit to the Wyvern Group 2 days ago? They probably hooked up at that time." Everyone in the Haynes family spoke up with righteous indignation. "It's too bad that Stephen hasn't realized what Kim really is like yet. Their entire family is an embarrassment." Mavis interrupted their discussion. "What's the use of saying all of this now? The important thing is that Lunaria's creditors are pressuring us to pay off the debt. We need to find a solution." "That's easy. Let's just go find Kim," Brittany said. Sophia agreed. "Kim's back in Santa Ana, so she's most likely at Tanith Corporation. Let's go look for her and make her take responsibility for her debts." The Haynes family headed to Tanith Corporation. Kim had just taken over the company and was swamped with work. The Haynes family had the good fortune of running into her by the elevator in the lobby. They blocked her path. Mavis started scolding her. "Kim, look what you did. You're working hard and showing off your grand plans. Do you not care that you've ruined your family?" Kim gave a confused look.
Grandma, where is this coming from? Ever since I was kicked out of your family, I haven't had anything to do with you. I don't know what's going on with you or Lunaria. Gordon snorted. You don't know. Lunaria owes an enormous debt, and the total amount adds up to several $100 million. We have to pay it all back. Really? Lunaria's management has always been doing well, though. We never had debts. Cohen took out a bunch of bills from the creditors and passed them to Kim. Take a good look for yourself. This is your supposed good management. Kim was astonished when she flipped through the bills. Stephen was passing by the lobby and noticed them. I'm the one who did that, he said, walking over. Lunaria is a company that Kim built from scratch. She worked hard to set it up, but your family wanted to take it away from her and profit without any risks. Since you've taken over Lunaria, you'll have to accept everything that comes along with it, including the debts. Did you really do all this? Kim asked doubtfully. Not just anyone could get this many business partners to knock on Lunaria's doors and collect debts. Stephen, you're just a good-for-nothing, Cohen said. You're not capable of something like this. This is Kim's conspiracy against us. Why don't we help them? Kim suggested. They're hundreds of millions in debt. This amount would make the Haynes family go bankrupt. Although their relationship had always been complicated, they were once a family. Help them. Don't forget, Kim, you're no longer part of the Haynes family, Stephen said. No matter what happens to them, it has nothing to do with you. Also, they're several $100 million in debt. Are you going to pay all of that back for them? Kim fell silent. What he said made a lot of sense. Since Kim wasn't moved by their financial crisis, Gordon played the pity card. Kim, only you can help us now. We can't handle this much debt. Do you want your grandpa, grandma, aunts, and uncles to go to jail? Are you just going to watch as our family falls apart? Kim's heart softened again. Stephen intervened before she could say anything. I'm sorry, but I've already said this many times. This is your family's problem. It has nothing to do with us. This is Tanith Corporation, not Haynes Industries. If you don't leave, I'll have to call security. Gordon gritted his teeth. Kim didn't have any reaction to his emotional speech. Everyone, let's go. Kim felt a little guilty as she watched them leave. Stephen, is it okay to let them go like that? Was it okay for them to kick you, Mom, and Dad out of the family? Kim, they're only pretending to be humble. Once their debt is paid off, they'll go back to their nasty selves. There's no reason for you to help them. But they might go to jail. What does that have to do with you? You're not part of their family anymore. Have you forgotten how they drove us out and kicked us to the curb? It's all right for you to focus on Tanith Corporation. Leave the rest to me. The Haynes family left the building with dejected expressions. This is so annoying, Mavis said. I didn't think Kim would refuse, that damned girl. If it weren't for that bastard Stephen, maybe she would have given in, Gordon said. Mavis let out a sigh. She only listens to that outsider now. He's influencing her in all the wrong ways. We won't be able to count on her for much longer. I don't know how we're going to pay off this debt. Cohen, you work in the government. Do you have any ideas? Gordon asked. No, it's not that easy. Lunaria's key projects are handled by the officials in the city. There's not much I can do. Gordon turned to Gianna's husband, Michael. What about you? Your future son-in-law is in the military. Can he help? Edward's on a mission. We can't get in touch with him, Michael said helplessly. As for Nathan and Mark, they didn't have any substantial connections in the city. Gordon couldn't count on them. Was this the end of their Haynes family? Their assets were worth several $100 million, but they were fixed assets, not liquid cash. If they did end up using their fixed assets to repay some of the debt, their family would be as good as broke. Not to mention, even if they sold everything they had, it still might not be enough. According to the law, they would face imprisonment. While the Haynes family was brooding in the courtyard of their villa, the door opened, and a refined young man entered. Such a small setback, and you're panicking like it's the end of the world. Gordon, Mavis, you're this old already.
You've been through a lot in life, but you're panicking in a small situation like this? How embarrassing. Gordon and Mavis looked at each other, and then at the suspicious man. And you are? I'm Jamal Stark, the fifth-in-line successor to the Stark family in Washington, D.C. The Haynes family was aware of his identity. While Jamal wasn't the first in line to succeed his family, his status indicated that he had the means to destroy the Haynes family with only a few words. The Stark family in Washington, D.C. had always governed Santa Ana, but their management in this city was loose and unrestrictive. They never paid much attention until Mitchell Norris participated in Swallow Resort's auction for Tanith Corporation. Mitchell was the representative from the Norris family in Washington, D.C., and everyone expected him to win the bid. An auction that had a clear winner from the beginning ended up with an entirely different outcome. This caused a commotion among the elite families in Washington, D.C., and Santa Ana, which had been ignored all this time, was forced into the spotlight. As Mitchell's good friend, Jamal volunteered to check on the situation in Santa Ana. The Haynes family was displeased when Jamal told them the whole story. Stephen is really bold, Gordon said. Where did he get the courage to go up against the Norris family? Mr. Jamal, please help us. No need to worry. After Sanson Corporation left, Santa Ana's market has become much emptier. I came to address this issue. My father will be arriving in a few days as well. I'm afraid that if we don't exert our influence in Santa Ana now, no one in this city will remember that the Stark family is in control. Jamal's father held a high position in the Stark family. No one knew his real name. He was only known by his nickname, Benedict. 30 years ago, when the Stark family was still in Santa Ana, Benedict was an existence that terrified the public with a single mention of his name. His martial arts were invincible, and he had personally trained the two combat specialists who had followed Mitchell around. Before those two were sent to protect Mitchell, they were under Benedict's command. The three of them had taken down everyone who stood in their path and paved the way for the Stark family's rise to the top. Now, Benedict was coming to Santa Ana. With his and Jamal's help, the Haynes family wouldn't have to be afraid of anyone. Jamal scanned the confused looks on the Haynes family's faces. You haven't heard? Mitchell Norris participated in Swallow Resort's auction. He was one of my good friends. Not only did he lose Tanith Corporation to Kim, but he was also severely injured. According to my investigation, Stephen was behind it. Before my father gets here, I want to get rid of the trash in this city. Thank you, Mr. Jamal. Stephen has been relying on the support of the Wyvern Group, Gordon said. He encouraged Kim to cut ties with our family and establish her own company. We've already kicked them out of our family. We have no association. I already know that, but I don't care about your family disputes. Jamal took Gordon's seat and sat at the head of the table. Since I'm here, I'll show you what I'm capable of. Let's begin with Kim Cassidy. With the Stark family's help, neither Kim, Stephen, nor the creditors would be a problem for the Haynes family. They were ranked first among the wealthiest families in Washington, D.C. Even the Norris family would have to submit to them. Jamal instructed his subordinates to look for Kim at Tanith Corporation. At the company, they surrounded the receptionists, who were sitting behind the front desk. Tell Kim Cassidy to come downstairs. The receptionists were frightened by their menacing demeanor, but they managed to maintain a polite tone. I'm sorry, everyone. Do you have an appointment? An appointment? Cut the nonsense. Tell Kim to come down. Otherwise, we'll ruin your building. One of the receptionists hurriedly gave Kim a call to inform her of the situation. A few minutes later, Kim came downstairs. Who are you people? We're from the Stark family, and we're here to bring you to the Haynes family. Faster than Kim could react, they grabbed hold of her and dragged her out of the building. They took her to the Haynes family's villa. Compared to Kim's previous visits, the person sitting at the head of the table wasn't Gordon. It was a refined young man. Jamal gave her a once-over. Are you Kim Cassidy? You're quite pretty. It's a pity that you plotted against your family. And who are you supposed to be? Kim asked defiantly. Gordon stood up from the table. How dare you speak like that? This is Jamal Stark. He's the fifth-in-line successor to the Stark family in Washington, D.C. I see. But I'm sorry. I'm not part of the Haynes family anymore. There's nothing I can do for you. Watch what you say. Gordon slapped Kim across the face, but she wasn't fazed. She looked into his eyes and glared at him. Gordon hurried to Jamal. I'm really sorry. She's been influenced by her husband. No worries. I don't care if she's currently affiliated with the Haynes family or not. The point is that she abandoned you all because of an outsider's influence. She set up a company that became your competitor, and she refused to help you when you were in debt. She asked to be punished. What do you have in mind? Gordon asked. The Stark family is above the law. We have our own rules, and we have no restrictions. If someone in our family did what she did and intentionally became our enemy, they would be whipped 50 times. Their life would not be taken into account. Gordon was aware of the Stark family's harsh rules. The whip they used was heavy and covered in thorns. It didn't matter how robust and sturdy a person was. With one strike, their skin would bleed. Kim's stature and frame certainly weren't considered robust in the slightest. Whatever crimes were committed against the Haynes family would be forgiven after 50 lashes were carried out. Gordon, please step aside, Jamal said. Gordon was hesitant at the thought of Kim being whipped, but he couldn't disobey Jamal. When Jamal's subordinates brought out the whip, the Haynes family was rooted to the ground in fear. Kim's earlier indifferent attitude cracked, and trepidation seeped in. What are you doing? This is your punishment. Jamal turned to the person responsible for enforcing their family's rules. Do it, he instructed. Jamal's subordinate raised the whip with both hands. Kim was being held down on the bench by 4 other subordinates from the Stark family. She struggled, but they were too strong. 1 second before the whip came crashing down, Stephen rushed into the courtyard and snatched the whip. With a crack, it was broken. Jamal's subordinates stepped away from Kim as Stephen approached. After making sure that she was all right, he tossed the broken whip to the ground and looked around. Why hasn't anyone asked for my opinion? Jamal was displeased by the interruption. Who are you? He's Kim's husband, Stephen, Gordon said. So, you're Stephen. Your skills aren't bad. I was wondering how you injured Mitchell like that when 2 professionally trained combat specialists were protecting him. There's no need to praise me. I'll be straightforward. You're right. I'm the one who injured him. Since you're admitting it yourself, that makes things easy. What you did to Mitchell will be done to you. Stephen glanced at Jamal's subordinates. And you're going to accomplish that with them? These subordinates of mine are top tier, and they're more than enough to deal with you. Jamal waved his hand, and his subordinates surrounded Stephen. Today, I'll turn you into a cripple and avenge my friend Mitchell. It will also serve as a gift to my father when he arrives in Santa Ana. Stephen smiled. That will depend on whether you have what it takes. You're still being stubborn, even though you're about to die. Jamal signaled for his subordinates to take action. As soon as he gave his order, they rushed towards Stephen. The sound of breaking bones filled the air, and in less than 30 seconds, Jamal's top-tier subordinates were incapacitated. Jamal and the Haynes family were astonished by Stephen's strength. Stephen scanned the crowd. Who's next? The Haynes family lowered their eyes, too afraid to meet his gaze. If he could take down Jamal's subordinates in one move, they were no match for him. Stephen glanced at Jamal. Do you still want to continue? Jamal's haughty attitude shifted in an instant, and he broke into a smile. Of course not, Mr. Adams. This was a misunderstanding. Your wife is a genius when it comes to the business industry. She's a role model for aspiring entrepreneurs. How could she be punished by my family's rules? That's not what you said a few minutes ago. It was a misunderstanding. We're all family here. Since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, why don't we stop here and make peace? I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first. Jamal crossed the courtyard in wide strides. Wait! Stephen held out his hand to stop him. You aren't thinking of rushing back home to call for reinforcements, are you? Jamal tensed. That was exactly what he'd been thinking. He shook his head like a rattling drum. No, absolutely not. For the fifth-in-line successor of the Stark family to lose to trash like me, it's not strange for you to want to run home and get help. I'm not going to stop you, but I would like for you to bring some gifts along. For example... Stephen glanced at Jamal's body. Your hand, foot, or any other part of you. You can choose. The color drained from Jamal's face. Cohen interrupted them. Stephen, you're too full of yourself. Don't think that just because you're good at fighting that you can do whatever you want. If you harm Mr. Jamal, his family will come after you. Benedict is his father. Jamal hurriedly nodded. He's right. Let me go. Benedict? I've never heard of him, Stephen said. Anyway, I don't care who he is. Whoever touches my wife will have to pay the price. Of course, the following scene might be too bloody for you guys, so I won't do it in front of you. Stephen asked Kim to leave and wait for him at home. After she left, he dragged Jamal out of the courtyard. No one knew what he did to him, but judging from Jamal's screams, it was particularly gruesome. The courtyard seemed lifeless after the Haynes family was left alone. One of the villa's staff, who had gone out to investigate, broke the silence when he returned. He reported that Jamal's hands had been sent to Washington, D.C. as a gift to the Stark family. Gordon almost fainted from the news. That trash has done it now, Mavis said. He harmed Mr. Jamal. When Benedict gets here, he won't let us go. Kim and Stephen were behind this. What does it have to do with us? Cohen asked. As the head of the Haynes family, Gordon came up with an idea. At this point, we have to take action. I'll write a letter to Benedict and make a trip to Washington, D.C. to visit him. The Haynes family supported his suggestion. Gordon ran into the house and wrote a letter. Then he boarded a plane to Washington, D.C. A day later, Benedict received Stephen's gift. He slammed his fist on the table, and it was shattered to pieces. Gordon was standing off to the side, and he was scared out of his wits. Who was it? Who did this to my son? Mr. Benedict, it was my grandson-in-law. He's the culprit. I've written what happened in the letter. Gordon pulled out his handwritten letter and held it out to Benedict with trembling hands. Benedict crumpled the letter when he finished reading. He's relying on the Wyvern Group to back him up. Without them, he's nothing. And what have you been doing? Sanson Corporation is gone, and Santa Ana's market is up for grabs. While the Wyvern Group was exerting its influence in the market, you were sitting back and twiddling your thumbs. Everyone in Santa Ana is useless. Gordon wiped the sweat from his forehead. Benedict's aura was overpowering. He was older than Benedict, but he was afraid to even breathe in front of him. Mr. Benedict, please help my family out of our predicament. Benedict nodded. It's time for me to head back to Santa Ana. I've been in Washington, D.C. for more than 20 years. I'm afraid that everyone in Santa Ana has forgotten about me. Gordon was delighted. Once Benedict made his move, Santa Ana would be turned upside down. When that time came, it would be a simple task to deal with Austin Adams, Andy Harrell, the Commerce Guild, and the Wyvern Group. However, Benedict said, I heard that Santa Ana will be holding a celebration soon to welcome the Commander-in-Chief. If I set foot in the city, I'll catch his attention, and our plans will be ruined. We'll leave them alone for now and wait for the celebration to end. Afterward, I'll take care of all the trash in the city in one go. Once everything is settled, even if the Commander-in-Chief doesn't like it, there won't be anything he can do about it. I'll leave everything to you, Mr. Benedict, Gordon said. Although they were impatient, the celebration was rapidly approaching. They couldn't act rashly. Gordon boarded a plane back to Santa Ana. He would temporarily put aside the issue with Kim and Stephen. After all, Benedict was in existence who could get rid of them at a moment's notice. It was finally the day of celebration to welcome the Commander-in-Chief to Santa Ana. Stephen was the director of the security department at the Wyvern Group. He didn't hold any influential positions, nor did he participate in any of the government affairs of the city. However, he was still an existence who was beneath one person and above the rest. Stephen was the commander-in-chief, and Santa Anna placed great importance on his identity. Every influential figure in the city would be attending the celebration, including the 4 great generals. The Harrell family's villa was bustling with activity early in the morning. 3 Rolls-Royce Phantoms were parked in front of the house. Tanya was more well-dressed than usual. She was looking forward to see the hero in her heart. "Grandpa, how do I look?" Andy was also in a good mood. He smiled and nodded. "You're beautiful. If the commander-in-chief sees you, I guarantee he'll fall in love at first sight." "Stop teasing me." "I'm not. I've already contacted the city's chief patrol officer. You'll be able to meet with the commander at some point during the celebration. This is a rare opportunity. You can't waste it." "I know, Grandpa. I won't let you down." The Harrell family wasn't the only one who had made preparations. Austin had specifically requested a priceless gift from the Addams family for the commander-in-chief. "The gift has been prepared, right?" Austin asked his subordinate. "Today's celebration is the perfect opportunity for me to climb up the ladder. We absolutely can't let anything go wrong. Once we establish a connection with the commander, even if it's the Addams family, they would have to respect me. As for the successor position, they're not allowed to give it up to anyone else besides me." "Don't worry, everything has been prepared," his subordinate replied. Aside from the Harrell family and Austin, those who'd received invitations were also looking forward to the celebration. For example, the Haynes family. While their status wasn't as high as Andy's or Austin's, they were still up there in the ranks. Their debt weighed on their minds, but at least the creditors had taken a step back when they discovered that Benedict was supporting them. Moreover, Santa Anna had issued an order to keep the peace in the city until the celebration was over. In the morning, Stephen drove Kim, Natalie, and Kyle to the celebration venue. They ran into the Haynes family by chance. "Hey, Stephen, are you here for the party? But I remember none of you received an invitation," Kelly said. "Only those who were invited are allowed to go in," Gianna warned. "It's just a simple celebration. I can enter whenever I want." "Where do you think this is? The market? You can't just go in because you want to," Megan said. Stephen shrugged. "Why not? Without me, today's event wouldn't have been held in the first place." Cohen laughed. "I know you're quite skilled with your fists, but today's celebration is not a joke. Use your brain. Is this the time and place to brag? Do you think you're the commander-in-chief or something?" "Yes, I am the commander," Stephen said seriously. The Haynes family snickered. Natalie was watching them from the side. She had a dark look on her face. "Stephen, did you bring us here to embarrass us?" "Of course not. I brought you guys here to relax and have fun. I'm sure they prepared the celebration well. There's a lot to enjoy." Natalie, Kyle, and Kim looked doubtful. Kelly waved the invitation in her hand proudly. "There's no place for you here. Unlike you 4, we were invited by the commander personally. Sorry, but we'll be going in first. Of course, if you're curious about what happens, we'll tell you all about it when it's over." After the guards at the entrance verified the Haynes family's invitation, they strolled inside the venue. "Let's go in too," Stephen said. Kim, Natalie, and Kyle exchanged a glance when he walked confidently towards the entrance. They had no choice but to follow him. When the guard at the entrance stopped him, he took out his ID. The guard's eyes widened. Just as he was about to salute, he stopped when he saw the look in Stephen's eyes. The guard respectfully extended his hand and welcomed them inside. Kim, Natalie, and Kyle were confused as they followed Stephen in. "What's going on, Stephen?" "The commander also sent Dr. Sloan an invitation, but because he didn't have time to come today, he gave it to me instead." The 3 of them accepted his explanation. Maybe the guards hadn't inspected Stephen's ID too closely. Kelly turned and spotted them walking around. "How did they get in?" "They must have snuck in," Cohen said. "It's an insult to the commander to have people sneaking in during a grand occasion like today. We should find the guards and kick them out." Kim, Natalie, and Kyle were worried when they heard what Cohen said. If the guards didn't recognize Stephen, they would be chased out, and that would be a huge embarrassment. "Go ahead," Stephen said indifferently. "We'll see who really deserves to be kicked out." "Bragging again. I'll inform them right now," Cohen said. A group of soldiers on patrol were passing by. He went up and said, "Excuse me, I wanted to let you know that a few people have entered the venue without an invitation." The soldier tensed. This was a celebration to welcome the commander-in-chief. Whoever sneaked their way inside could have malicious intentions. "Where are they?" the leader of the soldiers asked. Cohen led them to Stephen, Kim, Natalie, and Kyle. "That's them," he said. A smug look was on his face, as if he could already imagine them being chased out. "Take out your invitation," the leader of the soldiers said. Stephen smiled and took out his ID again. That was all it took to unnerve the soldier. He didn't know what to do and started panicking. Stephen wrapped his arm around the soldier's shoulder and stopped him from saluting. "Everyone here has an invitation." He glanced back at the Haynes family. "But there are always those who want to cause trouble at big events, even if they have an invitation. What if they disrupt the celebration later?" The soldier was quick to catch the meaning of Stephen's words. "I understand. These people are looking to cause a disturbance. Throw them out." The Haynes family was dumbfounded. "Excuse me, are you sure you have the right people? We have an invitation," Gordon said. "He's right, we were invited," Mavis echoed. "You may have an invitation, but we have deemed you as suspicious persons. To ensure the success of today's celebration, we've decided to ask you to leave." The soldiers came forward and led the Haynes family to the exit. Kyle watched them go with an amused grin. "This is way too satisfying. They deserve that. Who told them to try so hard to kick us out?" The Haynes family stood outside the venue, too shocked for words. When they tried to display their invitation again, the guard refused them entry. Gordon was so angry that his face was flushed. "This is all Stephen's fault. This was the perfect opportunity to establish a connection with the commander-in-chief. Stephen is the bane of our family's existence." "Calm down," Mavis said. "Even if we missed out today, we still have Benedict on our side. After the celebration, he'll be arriving to wreak havoc on Santa Ana. When the time comes, we'll pay Stephen back for what he did tenfold, or even 100-fold. The Haynes family echoed her sentiments. At 10 o'clock, those who'd been assigned seats below the stage headed towards the center of the venue. The celebration was about to begin. While Stephen was enjoying the sights with Kim, Natalie, and Kyle, he and Tanya passed each other. She cast him a glance. "Stephen, you really know your way around. You even managed to sneak in here. Even if you have the Wyvern group as your backing and managed to get an invitation, not just anyone can see the commander's face. Just stand outside and watch with the others." "I don't need an invitation to come to a place like this." Before Tanya could get angry, Andy walked over and stopped her. "Calm down. Don't let him rile you up. The celebration's more important." Austin also spotted Stephen and came over to mock him. "What are you showing off for?" Stephen asked. "Enjoy your life in Santa Ana while it lasts. After the celebration, all of you will be gone from the city." Kim was worried when 3 of the influential figures in the city started getting annoyed. She pulled Stephen aside. "How about we take a walk? These kinds of celebrations are all the same. I don't think there's much to see here." Stephen hadn't planned on bringing Kim, Natalie, and Kyle towards the stage. He still had to deal with Austin and the Harrell family later. "Okay, the scenery around here is pretty good. Take Mom and Dad for a stroll." The venue was located near a mountain. It was surrounded by the ocean, and it was a highly sought-after vacation spot filled with restaurants, bars, and more. Those with invitations could enjoy the attractions for free. "What about you?" Kim asked. "My stomach hurts. I need to use the restroom." Stephen found a random excuse and separated from them. The commander of Santa Ana's military base, Xavier Riley, the commander of the Special Forces, Captain Floyd, the governor, and other important military and political figures were waiting for him backstage. The four great generals, Dennis, Rosalind, Zachary, and Jaden, were also present. They were dressed in military uniforms. "Is everything ready?" Stephen asked. "Yes, Mr. Adams." "Then let's begin." The invitees took their seats below the stage in the hall. Although Andy, Austin, and the others were all considered the elites of Santa Ana, they were nothing in front of these political figures. Andy had pulled some strings and arranged for Tanya to sit in the front row. The city official who was managing the celebration came up on stage. After a brief introductory speech, he began to announce the guest lineup. Xavier, Captain Floyd, and the governor stepped on stage. Next were the four great generals. Then it was time for the commander-in-chief to make his appearance. The audience held their breaths in anticipation. The audience turned to the corner of the stage. "Salute," Dennis instructed. The four great generals straightened their backs and raised their hands in unison. The governor, chief patrol officer, and the others were just as nervous as the audience. This was the first time the commander-in-chief would be appearing in public ever since he arrived in Santa Ana. All eyes were on Stephen as he walked out from backstage. He was wearing a military uniform. His tall and otherworldly demeanor made him seem like a divine being who had descended on Earth. Tanya, Austin, and the other young elites of the city were seated in the front row. When the commander-in-chief made his appearance, they saw him from an angle, so they didn't recognize him at first. But from his side profile alone, he looked familiar. Austin was sitting at the same table as Tanya. "Miss Tanya, don't you think the commander looks like someone we know?" Tanya's heart skipped a beat. "Now that you're mentioning it, I think so too." From where she was sitting, she had a better view of the stage than Austin. The vague impression of the commander's face was similar to Stephen's. Tanya shook her head to clear her thoughts. "That's impossible. How could a freeloading husband be the commander-in-chief?" "So you also think the commander looks like Stephen? Looks like I'm not the only one," Austin said. "There are many people in the world with the same last names. What's so special about the surname Adams? Maybe it's just a coincidence," Tanya replied. "I hope so." Austin stared at the stage. If only he could get a better look at the commander's face. Stephen reached the center of the stage with a few more strides and faced the audience. This time, Tanya and Austin both had a clear view. There was no mistaking it. The commander-in-chief was Stephen, the same Stephen they all knew. Their eyes widened, and their minds raced as the realization sank in. Tanya was horrified when she recalled the time when she had thrown a stack of bills at Stephen in public. She was a clown who had set herself up for this very moment. But it was too late for regrets. Of course, Austin wasn't much better. Andy, who was sitting in the back row, didn't have a clear view of the stage. "What's going on? This is an important moment for Tanya. Why is she acting like that? She should try to leave a good impression on the commander." "Grandpa, don't you think it's weird?" Bradley asked. "It's one thing for Tanya to make a mistake, but why would Austin make the same mistake? They look terrified." "Do you think it's because the commander's aura was too strong for them?" Bradley nodded. "That's possible. He is the commander-in-chief, and he's the leader of the four great generals. He's one man above millions of people." "That makes sense. Give me my glasses. They're too far from where we're sitting. I can't see the stage that well." Brady pulled out 2 eyeglass cases, one for Andy and one for himself. He was also farsighted. "Grandpa, I think only someone like you could withstand the commander's aura anyway." Andy was flattered by his compliment. Bradley put on his glasses first. He looked towards the stage and almost fell off his seat. It had been a while since he last saw him, but the man on stage was Stephen, without a doubt. Andy was amused to see Bradley so startled. "Is the commander's aura that strong? Maybe it's because you and Tanya are young. Looks like I'll have to take you guys out for some training." Andy put on his glasses, and the world cleared before him. Then he raised his head and looked at the man at the center of the stage. His face paled. How could it be him? He didn't want to admit it, but the commander-in-chief had been Stephen all along. While Andy was trying to take this in, Stephen's sharp gaze swept over him. It was only for a second, but it was enough to make him start panicking. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, everyone, but I'm the commander-in-chief," Stephen said, loud and clear. Andy now understood Tanya's reaction. He was horrified when he remembered the past. Stephen had gone out of his way to save him, but he and Tanya misunderstood and thought he was trying to trick them out of their money. It was laughable that Andy had originally wanted to make him a billionaire. Stephen was the commander-in-chief, and a mere $7 billion was nothing but dimes to him. Andy was the richest man in Santa Ana, but Stephen's fortune far surpassed his own. Memories of embarrassing events in the past surfaced in Andy's mind. Tanya humiliated Stephen time and time again in public. She'd even led their subordinates to his house to teach him a lesson. Some time ago, Stephen had been at the airport to welcome Lionel Sloan to Santa Ana, but Andy had questioned and criticized him. In return, Stephen had given them a warning. But neither he, Tanya, nor Bradley had listened. Thinking back, who else but the commander-in-chief would dare to give the Harrell family a warning in public? They should have realized Stephen's identity back then, but it was too late. They had dug this grave for themselves. Stephen had noticed the audience's reaction. Andy, Tanya, Bradley, and Austin stood out the most. But he remained calm and collected because this was a celebration to welcome the commander-in-chief. He had to finish what he came to do before dealing with them. Stephen wasn't the only one who had noticed. The chief patrol officer was displeased with those who'd lost control of their composure upon seeing Stephen on stage. But this was a public and formal occasion. He couldn't criticize them in front of all these people. The chief patrol officer could only pretend like nothing had happened and introduce Stephen. "With the commander-in-chief's reputation, I believe everyone here has heard of him. He is an existence that goes beyond the sky and the earth. If it weren't for the commander, our country's world would have fallen many years ago. It's because of him that we're here today." The audience burst into applause. "Our country is in a time of peace, and the commander-in-chief is here in Santa Ana to take over the position of deputy head of the city. He will be stepping into the leading ranks of Santa Ana, and he is the pride of our city. I believe that under his leadership, our city will rise to even greater heights." Despite the chief patrol officer's speech, Stephen had come to Santa Ana for Kim. So far, he hadn't participated in the government affairs of the city, but the chief patrol officer was taking the celebration very seriously. He made it seem like Stephen would be taking over the city. With his status as the commander-in-chief, there was no way around it. Even if Stephen hadn't done anything, the officials of the city were still making his arrival a big deal. The chief patrol officer ended his speech with a passionate closing. "Please welcome the commander-in-chief." The audience burst into another round of enthusiastic applause. When they settled down, it was Stephen's turn to give a speech. "Thank you for your kindness. I may be the deputy head of the city, but I am only here to recuperate after the war many years ago. I will not be participating in any government affairs. However, if the officials of the city violate the law, I won't be sitting idly and doing nothing." "Of course, corrupt officials are no different from criminals," the chief patrol officer echoed. "Today's celebration was held to welcome me to the city, but there's no need to be concerned. Pretend like I'm not here and enjoy the party. But before we proceed, I have some personal matters to take care of." The governor and the chief patrol officer exchanged a glance, wondering what the commander-in-chief was up to. As for Andy, Tanya, Bradley, and Austin, their faces were ashen. They knew what would be coming next. Sure enough, Stephen called them out. "Andy, Bradley, Tanya, and Austin, are you here?" His voice echoed in the hall. When no one responded, Stephen added, "I'll only be asked once. The names I just called out, come on stage." Andy was the first one to move. He staggered towards the stage. Bradley and Tanya followed him. Because Andy was a bundle of nerves, he fell down on his way up the stairs, making things difficult for Tanya and Bradley. Austin was no better. He shuffled to the stage as if he had lost all strength in his legs.
Tanya, when I saved your grandfather's life, I made it clear that I didn't need any form of compensation. But you somehow twisted my words and provoked me over and over again. You even threw money at me in public.
The entire crowd burst into an uproar. Was that woman crazy? How dare she lay a hand on the commander-in-chief in public? Tanya paled when she remembered her past mistakes. Her knees went weak, and she dropped to the floor.
Mr. Adams, I was wrong.
Stephen walked past her and faced Bradley. Bradley didn't wait for him to speak before getting on his knees.
Mr. Adams, I didn't mean to offend you that time at the restaurant. If I had known your identity, I wouldn't have taken things that far. According to what you're saying, it seems like if I was an ordinary person and wasn't the commander-in-chief, I would have ended up in a miserable state.
Stephen shook his head in disappointment.
So you still haven't realized your mistake.
Bradley lowered his head.
Mr. Adams, I was wrong. I understand my mistake now. I'll have a better eye for people in the future, and I won't let them play me like a fool. I also won't use force before getting a clear picture of the situation.
Stephen nodded.
At least you were quick on the uptake.
Then he walked over to Andy. Andy wiped the sweat from his forehead with his handkerchief. This was the first time in his long life that he'd felt this uneasy.
Andy, I saved your life, but how did you return the favor?
When Andy thought about everything he'd done to Stephen, his tongue tied, and he started stuttering. He no longer had the image of the richest man in Santa Ana.
With your wealth, you should be thinking of better ways to spend your time, such as coming up with ideas on how to improve the city and its people. Instead, you're going around wasting resources to suppress your competitors. Your actions have disrupted Santa Ana's economy, and they're considered a grave offense. I don't think there's a need for you in our city's business industry anymore. Do you want to voluntarily retreat, or do you want me to make you leave?
Andy was relieved that Stephen would be letting this go without dire consequences.
Mr. Adams, from today onwards, I will be retiring.
Stephen nodded and walked up to Austin. Austin was feeling a whirlwind of emotions. To attract the attention of the Adams family and obtain the successor position, he took the risk and chose to attack Stephen even though they'd always been on friendly terms. He'd use all kinds of heinous methods. In the eyes of the commander-in-chief, becoming the successor of the Adams family was useless. Even the Adams family wasn't worth anything to him. To Stephen, they were nothing more than ants. Austin sighed and got on his knees. Mr. Adams, if I knew that you were the commander-in-chief, I wouldn't have targeted you. Even our family wasn't aware of this. They thought you wanted the successor position, but with your status, that position isn't worth anything.
You finally understand, Austin. Unfortunately, it's too late for that, Stephen said.
I've let you down. I've done many things that are worthy of death, so I'll accept whatever punishment you deem fit. Austin lowered his head as if he was prepared to die by Stephen's hand.
There's no need to go that far. Today's celebration is to welcome me to Santa Ana. Do you want me to shed blood on a day like today?
Mr. Adams,
Today's a celebration. I don't want to ruin anyone's mood. You should retire like Andy.
Austin was taken aback when Stephen decided to pardon him.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I'll do as you say.
With that, Stephen's speech came to a close. Austin and Andy's family left the venue together. Those who were present were told not to reveal what had happened on stage to anyone else. Shortly afterward, news of Andy Harrell and Austin Adams announcing their retirement shocked every corner of Santa Ana. Andy Harrell was the richest man in the city, and he was a long-time successful business owner, while Austin Adams was one of the youngest, well-known entrepreneurs in the business industry. When Andy's family and Austin left the venue, the Haynes family still was waiting outside. Although they had been refused entry, they didn't want to let go of the opportunity to form a connection with the commander-in-chief. Even though they couldn't meet with him personally, perhaps they could ask one of the big shots at the celebration to introduce them. Gordon hurried over to Andy's family. "Mr. Andy, is the celebration over? Have you met with the commander-in-chief?" Andy gave him a thoughtful look. "Your family has more influence than you think." Without waiting for a response, he left with Tanya and Bradley. "What was he talking about? Did the celebration have something to do with our family?" Mavis asked, confused. "I think I understand," Gianna said. "He must have been talking about Edward. He is the commander-in-chief's personal guard." Gianna's husband, Michael, agreed. "Yes, being able to see the commander every day is a great honor. That's what Mr. Andy meant by our family has a lot of influence. Edward will be getting married to my daughter, Sophia, soon, but we already consider him a part of our family." Sophia listened quietly on the side. She was enjoying this. "That makes sense," Gordon said. "Since Kim has left her position at Haynes Industries, the vice president's seat is empty. In my opinion, we should let Sophia take over." "As the saying goes, good things come in pairs. Why don't we give Gianna and Michael a promotion as well?" Mavis suggested. "Good idea. Gianna will be promoted to the Director of Finance, and Michael will be promoted to the Director of Personnel." Gianna, Michael, and Sophia were thrilled. They'd taken over the 3 most important positions at Haynes Industries. It went without saying that their family was now in the lead to inherit the Haynes family's assets. After the celebration concluded, Stephen went to search for Kim, Natalie, and Kyle. He found them relaxing on beach chairs by the lake. A gentle breeze ruffled his clothes as he looked out over the lake. The water rippled and sparkled under the sun. Natalie glanced at him as he walked over. "Stephen, why were you in the bathroom for so long? Did you drink expired milk or something?" Stephen touched his neck in embarrassment. "No, I went to take a look around." Kim was browsing the news on her phone. "This is crazy," she exclaimed. Andy Harrell, the CEO of the Harrell Group, as well as Austin Adams, the CEO of Grazing Corporation, announced 10 minutes ago that they're retiring from the business industry. After Andy and Austin made their statement at the same time, many media outlets had been pushing out articles, one after another. It was hard to believe, but she couldn't doubt the articles' credibility. Kim put down her phone and turned to Stephen. "Tell me the truth. What exactly is your identity? How did you know that Andy and Austin's companies would disappear from the city?" Natalie and Kyle were also curious. When they ran into Andy's family in Austin before the celebration, Stephen confidently stated that their life in the city would be over soon. Kim looked him in the eye. "There's only one explanation I can think of. Stephen, are you the commander-in-chief?" Kim, Natalie, and Kyle had anxious looks on their faces as they waited for his answer. Stephen had no choice but to tell the truth. "I guess it's time to tell you everything. That's right. I'm the commander of the army. I'm the one who asked Andy and Austin to leave the business industry in Santa Ana." Kim didn't sense any hint of a lie in Stephen's words. Recently, everything he'd said had come to pass by chance. Once or twice could be brushed off as a coincidence, but a coincidence didn't happen every single time. But if Stephen really was the commander-in-chief, why did he marry into the Cassidy family and pretend like he was no one special? No matter how hard she tried, Kim couldn't figure it out. She decided to be upfront with him. "Stephen, if your background was this extraordinary, why did you marry into our family?" Stephen smiled. "It's because I love you. Even if I have to be a useless husband, so what?" Kim's heart fluttered, and heat rose to her cheeks. Natalie was skeptical. "Is that really true?" Kyle also expressed his doubts. "If you really are the commander-in-chief, why didn't you say anything and let us get kicked out of the Haynes family?" "To keep a low profile," Stephen said with a chuckle.
Natalie and Kyle continued to question him, but he answered each question with a reasonable answer. Was Stephen really the commander? While they were engaged in a heated discussion, they headed to the exit. Coincidentally, the Haynes family hadn't left yet either. By now, Kyle was convinced that Stephen was the commander-in-chief. He was itching to get back at the Haynes family. Hey, why are you guys still here? Maybe you'll have a chance to see the commander in your next life. Cohen gave him a disdainful look. What are you so proud of? You may have had permission to enter, but I doubt you had the chance to meet the commander with your status. Of course I met him. In fact, I can meet him every day, Kyle said. The Haynes family looked at each other. Gianna and her family had just been declared the successor of the family, and they were proud of their position. They couldn't let Kyle talk down to them. Just what has Kim's useless husband been teaching you, Kyle? You're becoming more like him with each passing day. I'm not bluffing. Kyle pulled Stephen in front of him. Stephen is the commander-in-chief. He ranks above everyone in Santa Ana. The Haynes family started laughing. What's so funny? I believe you've all heard that Andy Harrell and Austin Adams have retired from the city's business industry. It's all because of Stephen. Save it, Cohen said. He held out his phone. Take a good look for yourself. It's written all over the news. Andy and Austin retired because they were found to have committed a crime. A few words from Kim's useless husband, and you believed him. How gullible. Kyle took the phone and skimmed the article. Cohen was right. Kyle glared at Stephen. I thought you were telling the truth for once. I didn't think you would pretend to be someone as important as the commander. Shame on you, Natalie grumbled. Kim was also disappointed in Stephen for lying to them. What they didn't know was that Stephen had requested the city to release this article. Gianna raised her head higher in pride. Was that all it took to expose his lies? Our family isn't like him. My future son-in-law, Edward, played an important role during today's celebration. Even Andy and Austin complimented him. Stephen can't be compared to Edward, Michael added. Edward played an important role? Why didn't I know about this? Stephen asked in confusion. As far as he knew, Edward had nothing to do with the celebration. Look at your tone. You're talking as if you're the commander-in-chief. You've already been exposed. Why are you still pretending? Edward is the personal guard of the commander, and he's in charge of his safety. Isn't that an important role? Understanding dawned on Stephen. Yes, it is important. Edward was serving in Santa Ana's military, but he wasn't his personal guard. It was laughable that the Haynes family managed to raise Edward's status through an illogical brainstorming session. What does that matter, though? The celebration is over. Shouldn't you invite the commander's personal guard over and ask him to settle your debt? The smug look on the Haynes family's faces disappeared. Now that the celebration was over, they didn't have any more excuses to delay paying off the debt. Soon, the creditors would come knocking on their doors again. Gianna and her family, who had just become the successors, were thrown into hot water and faced with a crisis. Hurry and call Edward, Michael told Sophia. When she took out her phone, she was surprised to see a message from Edward. Sophia, I'm on a mission. I'll give you a call when I'm back. The Haynes family once again looked at each other. You guys can take your time. We'll be leaving first, Stephen said with a laugh as he left the venue with Kim, Natalie, and Kyle. What's going on? Gordon muttered. Wasn't Edward the commander-in-chief's personal guard? Why is he out on a mission during an important event like the celebration? I don't know either, Sophia said. Military affairs are confidential. We don't have the qualifications to know about them.